And we're live.
Hello.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to another edition of the BSD Postgame Show, aka the Jordan Lucas Poop Fart Variety Hour, sponsored by Gay Hooters Body Spray. They've sold off all the restaurant chains and are now a body spray.
Yeah.
So,
Benghazi wing scent.
yeah, we still appreciate their continued support of the BSD Postgame Show, though. I'm your host, Dan Basilio, as always. Joining me from very scenic locations around the Northeast. First off, we have Bill in Danville, Pennsylvania. Bill,
Hi,
say hi
guys.
to everyone.
Hi, everyone. How's it going? We somehow won today, although I don't know if we can really consider what we saw, football or worthy of a win or anything like that.
It was football. In fact, it was football.
We can confirm that.
It was football in the same way that, like, a toddler that stands up for 2 seconds and then falls down walked.
Yeah, we can say that as well.
Yeah.
We're good with that. We were at 6 viewers, and now Bill talked, and now we're down to 2.
Yeah, that usually happens.
Joining us from New York City is the bearded Devon once again. I'm glad to see that your beard's still there, buddy.
Yeah, me and Sammy Sosa, we got it going on. Yeah, hey, it's a lifestyle, I think. I just want to have more facial hair than you have actual hair, so I have to keep it going as long as I can.
Oh, I hate you. And finally, somewhere in the DMV is our recruiting guru and just all-around great guy, Nick Pollitt.
I'm not Jake Zembek. Let's slow down there.
Oh, that's right.
He's a great person.
Isn't his Twitter bio like good guy or something like that?
His
Great
Twitter
guy,
bio, the first
exclamation
sentence is great person.
Great person.
I want him on Penn State so bad just because of that.
He's at this Michigan State game right now.
Oh.
Too many cooks.
Too many cooks. And that joke actually makes sense because Michigan State's quarterback is
Connor Cook. It wasn't just, it wasn't really a joke. It was just came to my head and I had to sing it.
Yeah. Well, everyone was doing like too many stoops because Kentucky and Oklahoma were both playing and getting their asses kicked at noon today.
Takes a lot to make a stoop. That works.
So yeah, we Penn State won today. It was something that we hadn't seen in nearly 50 days. They take out Indiana in what is technically a football game, but with the definition that Bill gave earlier. Beat Indiana 13-7 on essentially a Bill Belton 92-yard touchdown run. That was about it for the offense for the day.
Wait, Dan, how long had it been since Penn State last won a football game? How many days?
49.
And what if you put a 0 in between that?
409.
Oh!
It makes all the sense in the world now. All
It
the
went
sense in the world.
I like how quickly it always goes down a really weird road when Devin joins us.
Yeah. Yeah. Is your food here yet, Devin? Like, get the hell out of here.
I'm going to be out of here in like 20 minutes, guys. I'm just eating some Indian food. Or I will be eating some Indian food. But until then, you're stuck with me.
Ho, ho, ho.
And if we would have added 20 days onto it, it would have been 69 days.
Nice. Ooh, speaking of nice, JT Barrett threw a
Nice.
dime.
That was beautiful.
But, so yeah, there wasn't much of an offensive explosion today. There was a lot of punting.
Offensive implosion.
Punting. There was an offensive implosion. This is true. So, Bill, just give me first off, any general thoughts you might have had today.
Really, the big takeaway for me was I was just really impressed with how the defense bottled up Tevin Coleman. I mean, coming into this game, he had kind of this aura about him of being awesome and an excellent running back and someone who, if he wasn't on Indiana, he was a he would have been considered a Heisman contender. At least that's what a lot of people said. And he had 20 rushes for 17 yards. So it really was a testament to how.
No, 74 yards.
I have 71 up on.
You said 17.
I thought I said 71.
All right, whatever. Anyway.
Okay, 20 carries, 71 yards. And I thought it was so impressive how even with Xander Diamant, who he is by no stretch of the imagination a really good football player, but as we saw, he's a mobile, shifty, quick quarterback. I mean, how many guys are able to just get out of tackles by Mike Holt multiple times? They were still able to really zero in on Coleman and really shut him down for the most part. I mean, he had one 17-yard run, but other than that, he didn't really do anything. And again, it's just a testament to how great this defense is. And even if we had an average offense, we're talking about a team that is spectacular.
Yep. Yeah, there's a chance with a competent offense. We are what, 8-1, maybe even 9-0, because we don't give the ball back to Northwestern all day long.
Although a lot of that Northwestern loss is on the defense. I mean, Bob Shoop, that was like the turning point for Bob Shoop. Like, he was doing good stuff before then, but then he was like, oh, maybe we shouldn't just leave the middle of the field open to tight ends. And since then, it's been beautiful.
To be fair, though, the defense only had like 45-second rests every time they were off the field in that game.
That's right.
Yeah. Devin, what overall takes did you have today?
So my overall take is the same as I had last week, which is that we spent a lot of the first half of the season trying to explain this wasn't Christian Hackenberg's fault, and the last 2 weeks he's just been bad, and it's not sugarcoating it. It's not, you can't work your way around it. You can't talk in circles. Christian Hackenberg is a bad quarterback for most of this season, but especially the last 2 weeks. He's missing open receivers. He's holding onto the ball far too long when he has ample time to throw it away. He is, last week especially, getting frustrated and lashing out. This week, I didn't see it, but the announcers were saying his body language was better. I don't know if that's the case. But it is the culmination of a season of frustration, and I cannot imagine how tough it must be to go from Bill O'Brien and Allen Robinson and that offensive line to John Donovan, this offensive line, and these receivers, and it's just been all crashing down, and it's just not fair to Hack. But he has to be better, and I don't know that he can turn it around in the next 3 weeks.
Yeah. I mean, it's not John Donovan's fault that Christian Hackenberg was rolling out to the right and Mike Gesicki was standing completely uncovered in the back of the end zone, and Hackenberg just missed him. Like, he certainly
open field in front of him and could have just run it.
Yeah, certainly. And here's like one thing that really, really like scared me a bit. I don't put too much stock into QBR because I don't think anyone outside of Trent Dilfer knows what QBR means and how it's calculated and all that. But Xander Diamant actually had a higher QBR today than Christian Hackenberg. Xander's QBR was 10.5. Hack's was 9.4.
How is that possible? Wow.
Xander went.
Percentage.
Hold on. Xander went 13 for 27. Hack went 12 for 29, which you can kind of see it there. They both had no touchdowns. Both had no interceptions. Hack
had an interception.
Two interceptions.
Hack had 2 picks. Did Diamond have 2 picks?
No touchdowns, 2 interceptions. My apologies. In terms of yards, Hackenberg had 168 and Xander had 68. So God, like the fact, like I think
that tells you that the stat is flawed.
Well, like I said, only Trent Dilfer knows exactly what QBR is, but it's still not very what's the word? Reassuring that Xander Diamant had a better stat in any statistical category than Christian Hackenberg.
Except rushing yards.
And
that I'm okay with.
Except for rushing yards, yes.
No.
So I was watching the game and I had the thought: is Xander Diamant what John Donovan wants in a quarterback?
No, Brandon Bush is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If Xander was a better passer, then yes.
I don't think it takes a great quarterback to make 3-yard outs every time, but.
Well, I mean, yeah, he wants a sort of a dual threat guy, someone better than Xander, but the mold is, kind of what he wants. Yeah. Nick, what about your overall impressions of the game today?
Kind of the same. I mean, defense every week. I feel like the defense can't get better, and every week they do get better. Obviously, Tevin Coleman's one of the best running backs in the NCAA. There's no way around that. It's a fact. And even though he is on Indiana, even though they can't pass the ball, he still had 10 straight 100-yard rushing games, and we stopped him well short of that, which, I mean, says something about the defense. It was phenomenal again today. But then I was kind of looking at it more as from a future standpoint, too, just looking at how well all the freshmen, for the most part, played today, and just thinking about how good those guys are all going to be in a few years. Guys like Mike Gesicki, who's just getting more and more time as the year goes on. He would have had a touchdown today if Hack set his feet and made that throw.
Yep.
Chris Godwin had that beautiful eluded the cornerback, picked up like 18 yards on that one catch. Side Blacknell continues to look great. And Christian Campbell, Grant Haley, and Troy Apke are all fantastic special teamers already. So I was kind of looking at those
Campbell,
guys.
By the way, on
the yeah, I know exactly on that option play. Campbell had that tackle. Yeah,
wrapped him up.
So I was kind of watching them and just kind of thinking about how well we're set up for the future, with even more guys like that coming in. So, I mean, it wasn't a very good game, but there were positives.
Right. Yeah, not by any stretch of the imagination. But the future is bright. We are one win away from bowl eligibility now. And with that comes
schedule. So,
and I think we're all in agreement that the bowl game isn't even what's important this year. It's 15 practices that lead up to the bowl game that will, the freshmen and redshirt freshmen and sophomores. I think there were 22 redshirt freshmen or true freshmen suited up today. Just getting them more practice reps and getting them ready for the 2015 season will be important. Hopefully we don't have to go to Detroit for a bowl game. If we do, we hope
Detroit.
I'm sure all of you hope that we're going to the Pinstripe Bowl in New York. I'd enjoy the Heart of Dallas Bowl, being down here in Texas, obviously.
That's the one we played in 2011.
What's that?
That's the one we played in 2011.
That was the Ticket City Bowl.
That was the Ticket City
longer.
Bowl.
Yeah.
We speak not of the Ticket City Bowl.
I think the Ticket City Bowl and the Heart of Dallas Bowl were two separate things.
Okay.
It was in Dallas, though. Yes.
What city is Ticket City? Is that like
Charlotte?
Dallas?
I believe that's its nickname.
Yeah.
Dallas. But what can we say here? Now I've lost my train of thought. But yeah, so we're looking forward to the future, all that fun stuff. I put up a couple things that we were going to talk about tonight, and they're all things that we sort of brushed upon during the overall takes from today's game. First, we can keep talking about the defense, and like Nick said, we watch it every week, and we think it's the best it's going to get, and then they just do something ridiculous the next week. I don't know how much more there is to say about Bob Shoop, how he didn't win election in one of the Pennsylvania races this week is beyond me.
I almost wrote him in.
What's that?
I almost wrote him in.
Yeah.
Did you guys see who came in, I think, 5th in the Florida gubernatorial race?
Behind Charlie Crist, Rick Scott, and like 2 alligators, I'm assuming.
And Jimbo. Jimbo and Jameis. Because
No.
Because we're always talking about the Knowles in Florida.
Blake Bortles.
Blake Bortles, he might have gotten votes too.
He won the central part of the state.
But so yeah, what do we want to? I guess I don't even know what to say about the defense anymore, other than it's spectacular. But I don't know. Yeah, Devin, what do you want to say about this defense? And I guess this is just a platform to rip on John Butler even more, because getting him out just makes all the more sense in the world right now. People saying 8 games in that Devin was an idiot last year. Well, Exhibit A, Bob Shoop. So go ahead, have at it, Devin.
It's amazing, and you have the players love it. Austin Johnson said the difference between last year and this year is Bob Shoop is a genius. So it tells you what the players thought about John Butler. But just watching Butler, I get a very Rex Ryan vibe. And although I hate the Jets as a Jets fan, I love love Rex Ryan.
Yeah.
I mean, when you look at Shoop that way.
And just it's not only like the supreme confidence that everything he will do is the right move. It's just like he calls the game like just the most fun kind of game as a defense to watch. Tons of blitzing, lots of man coverage, create havoc, force turnovers, get sacks. When was the last time we had a Penn State defense that was like Tom Bradley was bend but don't suck, John Butler was suck and just suck some more.
Ted Roof is okay.
Ted Roof did a good job, but he, was more of like a stout, good job up front and kind of hold on. This is a defense that, with a lot of players who, were lightly recruited with not that much depth, it's a lot like what Narduzzi's doing. And I know they say Shoop doesn't really want to be a head coach and he likes being a defensive coordinator, but you give him a blank check and you get Shoop to stay, because when you get him with as many athletes as James Franklin can bring in, this is going to be scary, and we're going to beat Michigan State, hopefully. But I think that's the model.
Yeah, no, I agree. I'm trying to bring up some stats right now. But when you look at what we did, and we did all this without turnovers today until the Naeem Wortman interception there at the end of the game. If you don't count Jesse Della Valle's pick at the end of the first half. So he proves that he can even do it without turning the ball over. He's a genius. Austin Johnson is right. He's a genius. Nick, do you have anything you want to talk about the defense? I know you just made your comment about them blowing you away week after week, but do you have anything you want to say?
I'm not really sure I have much to add. The fact that having the level that Austin Johnson and Anthony Zettel have played at have kind of set the tone for the entire. Without those two, the defense is not nearly the same. The fact that Zettel's a junior and Johnson's only a sophomore just bodes incredibly, incredibly well for the future. As far as the John Butler and Donovan thing, I feel like I'd be really interested to see, be really interested to see Donovan coach, or not Donovan, see Shoop coach last year's Penn State defense and see Butler coach this year's Penn State defense with the whole experience thing. I'd be really curious to see how both those defenses did. But yeah, I don't know. I don't have much else to add.
Yeah.
Right. I'd say last year's defense gets a bump and this year's defense doesn't. I still think Bob Shoop, just from the scheming that we've seen, Bob Shoop is light years ahead of John Butler as a defensive coordinator.
Here's the thing with Bob Shoop is, yes, it's the players, but he just does an incredible job of just never being wrong. His blitzes, he has left guys out in an island, and the blitzes have gotten there before a player can get burned.
His corner blitzes are perfect.
Yeah, and he's. I liken him to Rex Ryan because he just brings pressure from every dimension, from safeties, corners, linebackers. How many times has he dropped a defensive lineman into coverage to have that lineman get an interception or knock something down? Everything he does is magic. Bob Shoop is magic.
Yeah.
I guess we were all probably looking up and watching the Ohio State-Michigan State game.
Mm-hmm.
Ohio State, on their first 2 drives, has 14 points. They had 17 points all game against us, and 10 of those were ref-aided. So that tells you something. Bob Shoop is spitting hot fire, as the kids say these days.
And coming into this year, you would have been very hard-pressed to find someone who would say anyone, if not in the Big Ten, maybe in the country, would have a better defense than Michigan State. So this does kind of put it in perspective. It's 2 road night games for Ohio State, and you see how, I don't want to say but how they're moving the ball against Michigan State, but against Penn State, it was just them smashing their head into a wall because they had no idea how to pick up yards against it. And there's really not much more we could say about Bob Shoop at this point. I think the most amazing thing with him is that it's not like he disguises his blitzes. If there's a hard count, everyone that's blitzing is going to crash in. And it's almost like Bob Shoop sits in the press box or the coach's box like, yeah, okay, whatever. And the ball gets hiked, and then the pressure comes from exactly where he's expecting. And it certainly helps them on the outside. Jordan Lucas is awesome, and Trevor Williams has taken some steps in the right direction. So, like, it's pretty hard to throw. It can be pretty hard to throw in those guys, but there's just nothing that opposing offenses can do. I mean, you look at the best output that a team had against Penn State's defense this year was Ohio State. It had, let me pull this up because this is just like the silliest thing.
59 yards passing.
Not 59 yards passing, 219 yards rushing, which is usually really good, but it took them nearly 60 carries to get there, which is just remarkable. This defense has such a good understanding of how everyone is part of how everyone, what they do impacts someone else on the team, that it's just so much fun to watch. And to watch it in the coming weeks against Illinois and Temple, which are on the offensive side of the ball, it should be a lot of fun.
And that's I think here's the thing with Bob Shoop, and this defense was very good to start the year. Played well against UCF. I think we have 24 points. Played pretty well in the non-conference. But it is getting better and better and better as the year goes on. Whereas the offense has regressed and it is just falling and collapsing into itself. Every single week, Bob Shoop is doing a better job than he did the week before. I mean, early in the season, Trevor Williams, Grant Haley, Christian Campbell, everybody's getting a shot at the other cornerback spot because they were having to, because people were getting beat. They were giving up long passes. Now, when was the last time you've even seen a team have the time in the pocket to try and throw something down the field against this defense?
I can't even remember the last time I heard Trevor Williams' name, honestly.
Yeah.
That's
Exactly.
a good thing.
And it's not that he's getting much better; it's that the defense as a whole, like you were saying, every piece impacts another piece, and every other piece on this defense has just been so good. I mean, Marcus Allen fills in for Kaiser and looks like I cannot wait to see him for the next 3.5 years. I mean, this defense is just it's continuing to improve week by week, and the fact that the offense hasn't just tells you something about the difference between Bob Shoop and John Donovan.
All right, so before we move on, Indiana had 15 drives today. Here was what they did with each of those drives.
Oh, yes.
Punt, 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 punt. Interception, punt, punt, punt. Missed field goal, punt, punt, interception, turnover on downs. That is insane.
That's awesome.
Yep. And I mean, their only points came off the pick six from Hackenberg. So Bob Shoop's defense did throw a shutout today. Go ahead, Bill. Did you have something else?
I'm looking at how many plays they had per drive now. Just like they didn't have a single drive of longer than 10 plays. They didn't have a single drive of longer than 42 yards. Just 3 plays, 4 plays, 3 plays, 3 plays, 3 plays, 5 plays, 3, 3, 2, 5, just like such short drives. And yes, it's unfortunate because our Penn State's offense did that as well. But 1, 2,
Imagine if they
3,
didn't.
4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9,
Imagine
11 of Indiana's drives were 5 plays or fewer.
I don't think teams would ever gain a yard on us if we kept our offense on the field for more than 4 plays of possession.
Yeah.
Let's
Can
see,
you imagine defense with a Bill O'Brien offense?
Penn State's longest drive today was 6 minutes and 23 seconds long, and that was the drive that ended in the freaking blocked kick.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That's about right.
My dream scenario is for Indiana to perform poorly and Kevin Wilson to get fired and we pick him up as our OC.
I don't want to.
Ooh,
I would
No.
take that.
that would be fun.
No.
It's a dream. It's a dream.
I hate the spread. I hate it.
I think that's more of just playing the hand that he's dealt. I mean, when he was in Oklahoma, he was the offensive coordinator for Sam Bradford.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. You know what? You're right. You are right.
And a pro style there, yep.
I just got Devin to admit that I was right about something. Devin changed his mind. Devin changed his mind.
One last defensive stat before we move on that I want to talk about. 7 players had 6 or more tackles today, led by Naeem Mortman and Mike Hall with 7. So that just tells you what he's doing with the talent that he has. Marcus let's see here. Hull and Mortman had 7. Lucas, Marcus Allen, Brandon Bell, who lived in the backfield at some points today. O'Linehan and Austin Johnson all had 6 tackles.
Oh, Linehan?
Yeah. O'Linehan, excuse me.
He's Irish now?
Yeah.
Scott
Oh,
O'Linehan.
O'Linehan. And Zettel had another sack, which should only help his Big Ten Defensive Player of the Year campaign. Mike Hall is up to, I don't know if these stats are updated. I think they are.
Mike Hall was so good to start.
Tackles on the year.
He was so good to start the year that 7 tackles is regressing for him.
Yeah.
I mean, all right, real quick, who's your vote, Big Ten Player of the Year, Zettel or Hall?
Zettel.
I'm taking Hall. I'm going Hall.
Hall's not Hall without Zettel.
But Zettel.
Sorry. Let me rephrase. Hull is still Hull, but without Zettel, Hull doesn't have those numbers.
Okay, but without.
Well, you could argue that if Zettel is in the background, in the backfield, breaking things up like crazy, then people are going to be able to get to the second level a lot easier, which makes Mike Hull's job a little easier.
Yeah, maybe he'd be like A.J. Hawk and just racking up tackles 8 yards downfield.
Yeah.
But see, if he was still all right, if no Anthony Zettel, then if Mike Hull is still playing outside linebacker, then I think he would be. I would think he would. Those numbers would be absurd because he'd be in cover.
Yeah.
Okay. So that's fair. I still go with Zettel, but I don't think it's impossible to make a case for Hull as well. You're fine with either of them.
One of those are not going to get nearly enough Defensive Player of the Year votes, and we're going to get really mad about it.
Yeah. And what are Shalik Calhoun's numbers? Because
because like him and Randy Gregory are the 2 guys I go right to when I think about stuff like this.
Yeah.
Calhoun has the whole preseason award list factor thing.
Yeah. 7, 5.
I mean, Mike Hull wasn't even a Butkus semifinalist, so I guess he's not that good.
Calhoun has 25 tackles, 6 sacks.
Yeah, so, which is, not horrible. But, I mean, like, part of that you have to remember is, like, Jacksonville State, Eastern Michigan, Wyoming.
Yeah.
He's not Indiana, he's not playing the whole game.
Yeah.
So he doesn't have a chance to inflate his stats in games like that.
Yeah, we could do a whole podcast on Defensive Player of the Year, probably, but we should move on. Because I want to get Devin's thoughts on John Donovan before he has to go on.
Do you?
This is a family show, Dan. No, I want that.
Our show is named after butt excretory processes. Poop farts. But yeah, I do want to talk about the offense, and there is a large debate in the Penn State Twitter and all that type of stuff on whether it's just because of this offensive line that John Donovan, give him a good offensive line, I think he's good, and the side that goes, he's had 9 weeks to morph an offense around the I can't even talk tonight. The deficiencies that we have on the offensive line, and I want to get, what side are you guys on? Let's just ask that question, and we can get into it however we want after that.
It took John Donovan 9 games to throw a pass to a tight end down the middle of the field. Fire John Donovan.
Right. Okay. Bill?
The one thing that I don't think you could do is go like completely onto either side of this and say the offensive line is really bad. That gives John Donovan a complete and utter pass. And you can't go, John Donovan is god awful. We need to fire him immediately.
Why not?
I think the answer is somewhere because one, he's not the person, making the bad throws that Christian Hackenberg is making, or he's not the person that.
So you want to blame Ricky Ronnie? Because you want to blame.
I want to blame Christian Hackenberg for that, or let's say with the poor blocking schemes. why is Herb Hand above criticism? I mean, I love the guy to death. I think he's one of the nicest people I've ever met, but the offensive line has really struggled this year, and you've seen the guys on the line kind of struggle to come to understand the concepts that have been put in place. So when do we say, hey, you know what, this is a problem, and maybe we should go to this source for it? But yeah, like with the play calling, like with the interception, how many times a game does Penn State throw a screen pass? That was one of the things that I remember, say, Vanderbilt fans saying, like, enjoy throwing a bunch of screen passes, which, like, whatever. They have Austin Carter Samuels. Of course, he's not going to be able to stretch the ball downfield. But at a certain point, you have to realize, we do have a quarterback who is capable of, when he's able to get his feet set and he has time, make a throw anywhere down the field. And we saw some of that today with the Jesse James going down the seam, and Hackenberg just throws a dart to him. There was one throw to, I think, Geno Lewis on the first or second drive of the game, where Hackenberg looks over to his right, he sees him, he fires a bullet in there, and it was going to do one of two things. It was either going to hit Lewis right in the numbers, or it was going to break the defensive back who was trying to knock it down's fingers. So I think there is a lot of blame to go around. I think that John Donovan does deserve a hefty amount of it, or really whoever is calling the plays deserves a hefty amount of it.
Yeah, we asked this question like 4 weeks ago. Do we know the answer yet? Who's actually calling the plays?
I remember when we asked on the podcast, I asked Steph, like, Steph Morris, what does a run game coordinator and a pass game coordinator mean? He said those were the titles that, basically the titles that Galen Hall and Jay Paterno had. So I really hope it's not a system like that, because if it is like that, you drive your head through a wall, because that's just so damn frustrating. But I do think it's mostly done. I think it is. I'm not 100% sure. I wish there was a little more clarity on that. But going back to your original question, I do want to see what happens with a full team, but at the same time, like, there are some things that, like, the play calling isn't going to get that much better with a full team, in my opinion. Like, it'll give the flexibility to do some more stuff, but it's not like all of a sudden it's going to be these, like, crazy wild plays that we've never seen before and we can only do now because there's depth. Ugh. So, yeah, I'll certainly want to fire him if after next year.
Oh, no.
Certainly if after next, yeah, like, I'm willing to say, listen, 1 year new system, for the most part a pass, but next year the seat has to be on fire, and the expectations, instead of being right here, have to be right here.
Okay. What if Nick's situation comes about earlier? What if you have the chance to hire Kevin Wilson or
Lane Kiffin?
Lane? I won't laugh at that, because Lane Kiffin is better off suited as a offensive coordinator than as a head coach.
Lane Kiffin is good at two things: calling plays and recruiting. And being an offensive coordinator lets him do those two things and only those two things.
Right. So,
but listen, of course, with anything, if a better option comes up and like upgrading is a feasible decision, yeah, of course you do it. But it's not like the greatest offensive coordinator is just going to fall out of the sky and say, hey guys, I would like to offer my services to the Pennsylvania State University.
Larry Brown, offensive coordinator.
There is a guy who has been an offensive coordinator in the past, a very successful offensive coordinator in the past, who's sitting without a job right now.
Do you mean Jay?
Charlie Weiss? Is it Charlie Weiss? Yes, I guessed it.
Would you take John Donovan? Would you take Charlie Weiss over John Donovan?
Don't make me look at the numbers that Charlie Weiss had when he was at Florida. Please don't make me do that.
It was just a question. At this point, I might be tempted to roll the dice on Charlie Weiss. Nick.
Ooh, nice poetry.
Hashtag
Oh,
roll the dice with Charlie Weiss.
I'm gonna tweet that out right now. Nick, what thoughts do you have on the offensive situation? How much blame do you put on John Donovan? How much is on execution? What are your thoughts?
Really quick before I start, I'd like to point out that one-time Penn State lock Monte Nicholson was the one who recovered that fumble for Michigan State a few minutes ago, so that's always fun to see. But I'm kind of like Bill. I'm kind of split on the offense, so I usually just end up playing devil's advocate for whoever I'm talking to about it. I don't think it's first of all, I don't think Donovan's going anywhere until the end of next year.
I agree.
At the least.
Unless
Only
Charlie Weiss really wants the job.
If only because Franklin preaches this whole loyalty thing so much. I don't think he'd kick him out after a year. But I see fault, like Bill said. I see fault on both ends of it. I mean, it's certainly hard to call play calls for a team with such a poor offensive line, although they have been getting better.
Yeah.
But when you combine the state of the offensive line, the fact that your most experienced wide receiver who actually plays is a sophomore, who's still kind of learning the wideout position in Geno Lewis.
And has a horrible case of the dropsies.
Yeah, who is a vintage sophomore year version of Justin Brown. Those things make it hard to call an offense. But then, on the other hand, you have him criminally underusing the tight ends. You have him continually calling plays that have proved they can't work, like the running back screen. That play just doesn't work if your offensive linemen aren't athletic enough to pull out and do their job, and they've proved they can't do that yet. There's certainly blame on both sides. He's going to score that.
Bye, everybody.
Yeah.
Woo! They just tied things up.
Oh, Devin's leaving. Devin.
Bye, Big. Are you leaving?
Oh, Devin's gone. Okay.
Okay. He's leaving.
Whatever.
Oh, Calhoun's
Didn't
down.
even let me say goodbye. No. Or I guess yay so Hackenberg doesn't get killed in 3 weeks. But no.
You know what? If Bosa didn't murder him, I don't think Calhoun's gonna
Oh,
murder
yeah.
him, so.
You know how we just forgot Joey Bosa while talking about guys who are going to win the Big Ten Defensive Player of the Year is a travesty. Because he's winning it.
But yeah, I'm split on it. I see fault on both sides, but in the end it won't matter because he'll be here next year. So I'll be more interested in what he does next year.
The fault with our stars.
Oh, God damn it, Bill. Speaking of pew 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 pewing, last time I checked, Texas Tech basketball team is losing to Texas A&M Commerce.
Okay, yeah.
In a exhibition game by 8. So things are going great here in the second year of the Tubby Smith era.
And LSU just threw a pick that.
Didn't Petaway transfer from Texas Tech?
I think so. Yep.
The trying to make you feel turn better way.
So I'm distinctly on the fire Donovan train.
Really?
Obviously, I am. I haven't seen. He's had 9 weeks to morph an offense around these weaknesses, and he hasn't done it. And I understand you have the cards that you're dealt, but he has time to do something with those cards. He hasn't, he just hasn't impressed me as an offensive mind to take what he has and turn it into something new. If he was on Chopped, he'd be the first guy. He'd be the first guy chopped because he doesn't do anything with his ingredients.
He doesn't transform them.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, I'm not.
I could transform, yeah. Yeah.
Of course, the first play of the game is this beautiful downfield pass that ends up incomplete. But there is the time and everything to do it. And then the next 2 plays are wide receiver screens that lead to a punt. like passing on first and second down, incomplete, and then running. Like it boggles my mind sometimes to watch the offense. And he didn't put any trust in the running game today until halfway through the second quarter. Even though the holes were open early on, that might just be a product of we were playing Indiana and they have a really horrible defensive line.
Yeah.
But it's just like he goes into a game, he has his game plan, and nothing's going to change it until sometimes it's too late. Yeah, he doesn't strike me as a brilliant offensive mind. He has a playbook of about 6 plays, and that's fine if those 6 plays work, but they don't half the time. So yeah, I guess I'd distinctly be on the fire Donovan train. If there's someone better this winter that comes around, like I said, roll the dice on Charlie Weiss, make it trend people.
I believe I read once it was some explanation of what a West Coast offense was under Bill Walsh of the San Francisco 49ers, and he said it was something to the extent of you run about 7 or 8 plays. Though that's it. The playbook isn't exactly huge. You only have a handful of plays.
Mm-hmm.
The thing that makes it unique is you have so many different formations and so many different sets that you can run those plays out of that it makes it a tough offense to defend. And really outside of a wide receiver screen, that you don't see, or different formations for a wide receiver screen, you don't see that much creativity with this offense. I mean, think about the Wildcat from today, when it was, I believe, Belton taking the snap, Lynch was the running back, Hackenberg was out wide, there was someone in the slot, and then if I remember correctly, there was someone lined up in between Lynch and the offensive line. Like, that's the most innovative thing that we've seen this season, putting an extra person in the backfield like that.
Yeah.
It's the wrinkle.
What was that?
That's the new wrinkle.
That is. That's how, in Franklin's words, we're going to manufacture points or yards or whatever the hell he said.
Right.
But
and
yeah,
the Wildcat was run 2 or 3 times a day, and one was for a first down, one was for like a 15-yard gain.
And then there was another one that I think went for like 3 yards. But like this is kind of something that we've said. You don't want the Wildcat to be the concept that your offense is built around. But when you have 2 running backs that are running the ball rather well, and you want to change the pace up a little bit, and when Hackenberg's taken a few shots and you want to just put him on the outside where he doesn't have to worry about too much, not much of a hit, just like lightly engaging a blocker, the Wildcat is a good option. And we saw today that it can be a good option and what happens when it is used properly.
Yeah, run it 5 times a game, not in a row, obviously. Yeah. When you run it 6 or 7 times in a row, that defeats the whole purpose because the defense figures out their assignments once again. Run it a few times and it's fine. I don't get the hate for it when run properly. So third thing I sort of put on. Actually, let's take a couple questions and then we'll go to this last, at least the last point that I put up today. So we got a couple questions on Twitter. There was a Penn State football game today. Can you confirm? I think we did that. Said it was, there was some sort of football, or I like Bill's definition of the toddler taking a few steps and considering it walking. Second question, you guys might have to answer because I took a nap during the 2:30 games. Which game was worse, Penn State, Indiana, or Michigan, Northwestern?
I didn't watch Michigan Northwestern because I was watching Auburn against Texas A&M, which was a fantastic game. And then what the hell was the other game I was watching? Like just
Notre Dame.
Notre Dame and Sparky. Like those games were both really good. Auburn Devil Magic finally wore off and they lost, but it was the very little I saw of Northwestern and Michigan. There was one drive when Northwestern had the ball like to start on Michigan's yard line, and they had to punt. Like that's how the drive ended, with a Northwestern punt. There was the play to end the game, which was Northwestern scored a touchdown as time expired. It was 10-9. They decided they were going to go for the win. Trevor Siemian dropped back to pass in the 2-point conversion, and he fell down, and that was the end of the game. So, like, that just sounds horrible. I'm inclined to go with that just because I didn't watch it, and from everything that I've read about it, it sounds just like abysmal. But yeah, I guess I'll say that. I'll look at the stats right now, and yeah, Northwestern carried the ball 35 times for -9 yards. The teams combined for 6 turnovers. Yeah, Jesus God, this is an ugly game.
I did watch a good portion of it before. I didn't see the very end actually, so I didn't see the final play. So I guess I missed the only good part of the game. But because by that point I was watching Notre Dame and Auburn. But from what I did watch, it was it was a really, really bad game. I know Matt DeBear tweeted at one point saying that Northwestern Michigan was just Penn State Indiana with different colors. It's pretty much true. They were both absolutely horrific games. Michigan's defense played phenomenal. It was Northwestern's defense didn't play too well. It was more of Michigan sucking, but Michigan's defense played phenomenal, especially Frank Clark. He had a really good game. And I realized while I was watching that one of my friends from home actually writes for Sports Illustrated now, but he went to Michigan and he was a Michigan beat writer and all that. And while he was tweeting during the game, I tweeted at him, I said, like, you could switch our tweets and just have us take over each other's account and tweet about our own teams and take out all the names, and no one would know who you were tweeting about. Penn State and Michigan pretty much have the same problems right now, aside from Michigan having better punting and
Penn State's going to have the same coach at the end of the year.
Yes. That was the other difference. Yeah. But I mean, both teams' defenses are phenomenal. I think Michigan's in the top 10 now, defense nationally.
Yeah, I think it was 5 Big Ten teams are in the top 10 nationally.
Yeah, and that's probably also a product of Big Ten offenses being terrible. But
right.
But I mean, their defense has been playing phenomenal, and their offense has been crap, kind of just like ours. So I thought that was interesting. But in terms of overall game experience, it sounds like I would probably put Penn State Indiana ahead just because there was at least scoring spread out a little bit throughout the game. There was that one 30-second burst where we had the 2 touchdowns, and at least we had a record-setting touchdown for us.
Nice pass, J.T. Barrett.
So yeah, I guess I'll say ours was a little more exciting, but it wasn't too much more exciting.
Okay. And the last question we have on Twitter is asking for recruiting updates. So if you want to give us like a 2-minute spiel, Nick, what have you heard? I mean, it's during most of these kids' seasons, and they're not doing much in terms of listening to schools. But
right now, it's end of the year / playoffs beginning for high school. So a lot of them are really focused on that. Talked with Jake Zembeck today. He, like I said, he's at Michigan. He said he's having a good time. Matt Burrell, who me and his father had a really weird Twitter interaction last week. But he's visiting LSU right now for this
nice
Bama game. I know I still think it'll come down to OSU, PSU, but who knows, because he changes his mind every day. Let's see. Sterling Jenkins and I were talking a lot during the game today. He saw it as motivation to go work out and get excited about being on part of Penn State's offensive line next year. So that's always good. Adam McClain is visiting Washington State, which is kind of cool for me on a semi-personal level. But Adam McClellan's not going anywhere. He's taking his official visits. He's not going anywhere else, so don't worry about that. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, last week, Dwayne Haskins visited, Trayvon Diggs visited, Ricky DeBerry didn't come for the Ohio State game. He visited somewhere else today, so it's kind of looking like he's less and less of an option.
Aw.
Yeah, oh well. Same thing with Tim Settle. It kind of seems like maybe the staff told him something about his grades weren't going to transfer or something. I don't really know, but he kind of seems like a Virginia Tech lock, or if he doesn't get to Virginia Tech, he's probably JUCO at this point. Yeah, that's on top of my head. That's really what comes to mind.
Okay, cool. Last thing I had to talk about.
How's Brandon Wimbush? How's he doing?
Brandon Wimbush, I actually saw. I semi-follow him now. I don't follow him obviously as closely as I did, but I think I saw
lover treatment, Nick.
before last week or before this week. I don't know what he did in this week's game, but the 3 weeks or 2 weeks previous, he had as many touchdowns as incompletions with 10.
God damn it. What about, is anything different with McElwain? What do you think about him?
I haven't talked to him recently, actually. I texted him today. He didn't answer me. I don't know I couldn't remember if he was at someone's game visiting this weekend or not. But he'll probably get back to me tomorrow. He's usually pretty good about answering. But I mean, my personal status on him is still the same. I think he's going to South Carolina, but we're definitely the number 2 option at this point still. The 2016 quarterbacks will be interesting.
Mm.
Who commits first will definitely have a domino effect.
Gotcha. Okay. Well, making a great segue into the last topic, I want to talk about our quarterback, Christian Hackenberg.
We have to.
He didn't look great today, and as we sort of hinted on in the past, and as we've sort of been, you know, the trend that we've sort of been going to over the season is maybe he is having some sort of sophomore slump, and it's not based on the defensive or the offensive line, because he had protection a lot today, and he would just not throw the ball away. He went on the run and couldn't hit a receiver in the chest. He just did not look good, and we've said this a couple times this year. Like, that might be the worst game we've seen Christian Hackenberg play, and I think once again, today was maybe the worst game we've seen Christian Hackenberg play since he's been to Penn State. Just getting hit all during the early season, is that affecting him in his head now? I don't know what's going on with him. He might need to talk to someone, because I think he's just out there playing scared at this point. And we should all preface this by saying Christian Hackenberg is not transferring from Penn State.
No.
I know the message boards love to say he's going to transfer. He's 1 year away from the NFL. He has all the tools to be the number 1 pick in the draft. He's not going to leave a school and have that sort of count against him when, scouts grades come around and all that. Christian Hackenberg is not transferring. I think we can all agree on that. The sane ones can all agree on that. What do you see as the problem with Christian Hackenberg? How does he get back on track, whether it be for the ending of this year or the start of 2015?
Yeah, I'm looking at his stats right now. Today was his fewest completions, tied for his fewest completions with UMass. It was and he played half of that game.
Mm-hmm.
Fewest yards, his worst completion percentage, his lowest QB rating, his lowest raw and adjusted QBR. He's been sacked more times this year than he was all of last year. He has 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 2 more interceptions than he had last year, and he has 13 fewer touchdowns.
And this is all, when you talk about today's stats, this was probably the best performance out of the the offensive line all year.
Yeah, that's fair.
He was protected for most of the day, I'd say.
The only game this year where he hasn't thrown an interception was against UMass, which is just a mind-boggling stat. His longest completion today was 29 yards. I mean, I think the important thing about today was he did take one really positive step forward, and that was in his body language and his mannerisms and how he carried himself. You didn't see him getting into shouting matches on the sideline. If you saw him talking to a teammate on the sideline, it did appear, and you can really only preface it with it appeared like it was going this way because you don't know what he was actually saying, but it appeared like it was more of a, hey, listen, this is what you need to do, and I need to do this to get the ball to you. Not like, hey, go to hell, I'm doing this right, you're doing this wrong, blah, blah, blah. Which, when he's blowing up at someone, that's what it looks like. So I think that's kind of the really big thing, at least the big takeaway that I had about him today, and that was that he seemed generally more composed on the sidelines when he was interacting with people and all stuff like that. When he is on the field, I think it was Chad who tweeted this. It was something like, Christian Hackenberg always looks like he expects to get hit, and then when he doesn't get hit, he doesn't know what to do. Because he's just like programmed to go, I'm about to get hit, god damn it, this is going to suck. And I think that mindset needs to change, and I think that mindset will change once Donovan Smith gets back from like whatever the hell he has, and the offensive line is, Smith, Diefenbach, Lawrence, Mangiero, and Nelson. But in terms of performance on the field, I think he just needs this year to be over. He needs to have an off-season to work, an off-season to continue to understand this offense some more, to get better throwing the ball on the run, or understanding how to set your feet when you're on the run so you can like get squared up and you can make a throw. And do all of those things that, like, if Bill O'Brien was still here, he would have definitely taught him how to do it. And I don't know if Ricky Ronnie hasn't taught him how to do it, because Ricky Ronnie is like a miracle worker, as we saw at Vanderbilt. But that's just what he needs. He needs to get a better understanding of what he is doing and his role within this offense, and it will certainly help a lot when he is not scared that he is going to be taken down all the time. It was, I think, last week where someone said, man, even David Carr feels bad for Christian Hackenberg. And that's a bit of an obscure reference, but David Carr was the quarterback for the Houston Texans when they came back in the early 2000s. They drafted him #1 overall, and all the talent in the world, but his career was kind of cut short because his offensive line couldn't block for a damn. And he just got scared, and he really struggled throwing the ball, and he didn't know what to do when he had time, and it was just a mess. So once the offensive line gets shored up this year, hopefully it can finish a little strong, and it can give Hackenberg a little more confidence. And hopefully, as he understands his role in the offense a little bit more, something will change. And then, who knows, maybe next year he has the potential first-team All-Big Ten year that we were expecting out of him. Maybe he's able to be a potential All-American and Heisman candidate if a few things go right. But right now, this just seems like a really bad sophomore slump, which could be attributed to a bunch of different factors.
Right. Yeah, and I think the hit that Chad sort of, oh, what do I do now? I'm not getting hit, is apparent because he thinks two things happen when he does it. He throws, and it's normally not a good throw. He's not hitting anyone where it needs to be hit, and the guy will his receivers will either go get the ball and make some ridiculous catch, or he just can't hit them, and that's that. Or, number two, as we saw, I think it was in the fourth quarter today, he had coverage downfield. He rolls out of the pocket. Good, great. He holds onto the ball when he can throw it out of bounds. He's way out of the pocket. He has a guy coming down on him. All he has to do is throw the ball 2 yards to the side out of bounds, and he takes a sack. And I don't know if it's just something in his head now where he's like, once he's not hit, he doesn't know, he panics. Yeah, I'm not sure what it is. But yeah, I would agree. I think he just wants this season to be over with.
I mean,
Nick, what are your thoughts? Oh, go ahead, Bill.
But I was going to say, with stuff like that I think it just comes down to with how much the pieces around him have struggled this year. He feels like he needs to make all the plays on his own. And sometimes when he both of his interceptions today, one was just a bad play call, and one was because Bill Belton couldn't hold on to the ball. But how many times have we seen Christian Hackenberg try and put a football which is that big into a window which is that big, and it just ends up getting picked off?
Yeah. Yep. Update on the Texas Tech exhibition game. They're down by 3 with 42 seconds left in overtime.
Tab.
To Texas A&M CC Commerce. So, yeah. So Nick, what are your thoughts on Christian Hackenberg?
I mean, Bill kind of said it all, but I mean, he certainly is not the same guy that he was last year, and that's due to a myriad of factors. I mean, namely the fact that Bill O'Brien, Charlie Fisher, and Allen Robinson and last year's offensive line are gone. It's a completely
Charlie Fisher. I forgot about him.
Yeah.
Completely different team. It's a completely different scheme. I also it can't be understated the wide receivers also. Because as time has gone on, obviously Chris Godwin's side, Blacknell have played more and more and more, and they're both really, really talented, but they're also freshmen, and they're still learning how to run their routes, and that's why, as we've seen the last couple weeks, the majority of the sacks haven't been the offensive line. The majority of the sacks have been coverage sacks, and I mean, we've been playing Maryland and Indiana. Neither team's secondary is, and Will Likely for Maryland is fantastic, but aside from him, neither team's secondary is anything special, but they've been able to bottle up the guys who are trying to break free and get open. So I think that's part of it also. But I agree that he seems lost when he doesn't know, when there's no hit coming, when there's no imminent doom crashing down upon him. It's like he's so used. I think the David Carr metaphor is a really good one. That's the worst. I think that's the worst offensive line in football history, those early Texans offensive lines. Yeah. And like you said, like David Carr's career got ruined because of them. He took so many hits and his confidence just got shattered. And I hope that's not happening with Hackenberg, because we all know how talented he can be. We all know how talented he is. Like you still see it a couple plays every game. He makes those NFL type throws, and he has that mindset. He's going to be an NFL quarterback as long as he stops fumbling snaps. But it's definitely hard for him right now, going to, like, the whole offensive mindset's so different now than it was when he came in expecting to be there for 3 or 4 years under Bill O'Brien, and switching to a guy who I think at this point it's pretty clear that he would prefer a running quarterback. Yeah. So that's certainly difficult. It has to be difficult on him both mentally and in a play calling sense. So while he has regressed, I think there's a lot of factors leading to that aren't necessarily all on him. And I do think another season of being able to learn the offense and giving the offensive line and the receivers a chance to improve will benefit him next year. But yeah, he's in a tough spot right now, and he's still Christian Hackenberg. He still has the potential to do great things. I mean, I did not realize before, I don't know if he still is, but did you know he's still leading the Big Ten in yards?
Yeah, he's really good, other than touchdowns, at all the statistics that require high, like, throwing the ball a lot. The issue is he's not very good in stats that like try to quantify efficiency.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, obviously the talent's still there. It's just a matter of, I mean, and we all know this is always going to be a tough year, so it sucks that it happened this way, but he's still a great quarterback who has the potential to do great things. So
At Penn State.
same as at Penn State. Same as the offense as a whole, and John Donovan. I'm more interested in seeing next year.
That's fair.
Yeah, I'd agree with that.
Yeah. Those are all the topics that I had. Does anyone else have anything that they'd like to talk about?
I'm trying to think. Sam Ficken. Sam Ficken, really good at his job.
Yeah. For
Yeah.
the block today.
Yeah, except for the blocked kicks. Other than that, like, he's very good at his job.
Yeah.
I love
Which,
that
like,
man so much.
Probably won't win the Groza, but
yeah. Like,
he should be a finalist.
if his, I think it will certainly help him that he is among the leaders in the country in field goal makes and attempts, and that all 3 of his misses were blocks. I think.
How many people do you think are going to realize, like voters and stuff, are going to realize that his 3 misses were blocks, though?
None.
Fingers crossed they do, but I mean, like, he hasn't missed a PAT. All 3 of his misses were blocks. There's always hoping that, like, they'll go, oh, what a great story. Sam Ficken went from the guy that cost Penn State against Virginia to, completely automatic. Like, fingers crossed. That's the hope, but.
If he gets a game-winning kick sometime in these last 3 games, I think the profile will go up more.
Yeah, and next week is a very, very good chance that happens. Just because, like, Temple, their offense is not very good, and their defense. Let me pull this up. Their defense isn't exactly Penn State's defense, but they are
good enough to stop us.
Drove of feral pigs is good to stop Penn State's offense. Temple is 95th in passing yards, 109th in rushing yards, and 76th in points scored, which none of those are especially great. 10th in points allowed, although it should be noted that the level of competition they're playing against isn't exactly fantastic. Like Vanderbilt, Delaware State, UConn, Houston, and UCF whipped the hell out of them. They did do a really nice job. They beat East Carolina 20-10, but that game has a gigantic asterisk next to it because ECU, East Carolina, turned the ball over 5 times.
Fumble.
And they committed 12 penalties for 116 yards. So just, like, be smart, and that's a winnable game. And then when we do this next week, we're going to be very happy because we're going to be talking about a bowl team.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
Eligibility next week.
Next week, or hopefully
Illinois may mix up.
If this team can get to 7,
I hope that it's next week.
7-5 after that just horrific stretch during the middle of the season, will not complain. Will not complain at all.
Yeah. Yeah, I said 7-5 at the beginning of the year, and I think we can still get there.
I have a good question.
Go ahead.
Do you
Go ahead,
think
Nick.
next year's defense will be better or worse?
Talent-wise, it might be better. And if Bob Shoop's still coaching, that would make me think it's
because if
better.
you think about the lineup, it'll be the defensive lineup. It'll be Garrett
defensive
Sickles.
line will be better.
It'll be
which is
Garrett
horrible.
Sickles, Anthony Zettel, Austin Johnson, Deion Barnes. Obviously, 3 of those are starters now, and another year of experience for those guys is hilariously unfair.
Mm-hmm. With
the linebackers
still having Turo, Barney, and
still having Barney and Cothran.
Cothran, yeah.
Nassib's only Nassib still has eligibility left, doesn't he? And same with is Barrs a senior?
Barrs is a senior. Yeah.
Barrs
he's
is
a sixth year actually. I think.
Brad Barrs is the man.
Yeah, like I'm glad he had a tackle like for loss today or something like that, and I'm just gonna happy after everything that happened to him last year.
I mean, like I've ran into him twice in just a casual setting, and like he is the nicest dude on the planet. So anytime he does something, I get a big old goofy Bill smile on my face.
Yeah.
But so the defensive line will obviously still be awesome. Linebackers, Bell and Wortman on the outside. I mean, they've been monsters this year. There's no reason to think they can't get better. Troy Reader's gotten fantastic reviews, like out of practice and out of camp. So I assume he'll step in and start a middle linebacker. Obviously, other things could happen. I mean, say a guy like Jake Cooper could come in and just absolutely murder it, but I'd assume Troy Reader will start. So obviously, he's not my call, but on in front of him, who's to say he can't put up similar numbers? And then what do you have? Lucas, Marcus Allen, Trevor Williams, and probably Malik Golden at safety.
Could be named later.
Or Koa Farmer could be someone to step in that star role instead.
Or what's his name? Amani
Oruwariye.
Yeah.
It took me a while to figure out how to say that name. So yeah, I mean, I'm really Bill, what do you think? I'm curious.
Let me ask you a quick question for someone who can maybe start at safety. I'm looking at how big of a duty is, and I'm guessing he can't. Could John Reed play in some role next year?
At safety?
Whether it be at safety, because when Jabril Peppers was ruled out earlier this week, Brady Hoke said something like he was a potential impact player. We could have played him at corner, at nickel, or at safety. Could John Reed kind of be something similar to that, where he could just play in some kind of capacity next year as a freshman?
The thing about, Jabril Peppers is that he's just like an uber athlete in every sense of the word. So like he can hit big, he can make big plays. He kind of fits anywhere. The thing about John Reed is he's a really, really, really good cornerback. He has really, really good coverage skills. So I wouldn't put him at safety, but if they wanted to, I know Jordan Lucas has been talked about potentially him playing some safety in the future just because he's big enough and can hit hard enough. So I could potentially see something a bit like Jordan Lucas moving to safety and put John Reed at corner. But that being said, Jordan Lucas is also far and away your best corner, so I don't know why you do that.
Right.
Well,
but then again, they did it with Amos. So
yeah. It's all about which player in which situation will give you the best chance to win.
Yeah, I could definitely see him play next year, but I wouldn't say it's safety.
Yeah. But yeah, as for how it's going to look next year, I think the defensive line will be better. Just the fact of the three best guys on this line getting more experience and getting another offseason in the weight room, and let's say Anthony Zettel puts on 10 pounds and is able to add some strength to go along with the fact that he's already incredibly quick and he's already a really strong dude. And let's say Austin Johnson maybe loses a couple of pounds and becomes a little bit quicker, and he's still a freak of nature who's able to get all over everywhere. And Deion Barnes goes out with the bang as just an otherworldly pass rusher. Basically, whoever you plug in as the fourth guy will get one-on-one with an offensive tackle all year. Add in the fact that it's probably going to be Sickles, and he's very good, and I'm very optimistic about that. The linebackers, I don't think they'll be better because just replacing Mike Hull is going to be so difficult. It certainly helps that Brandon Bell and Naeem Wortman are awesome, and Troy Reader is getting, like you said, just rave reviews. But I think the linebackers may take a little step back. Not a big one, but a little one. The secondary, I really do want to know who's going to fill in as that fourth guy. But this defense, I see no reason why it shouldn't be just nasty next year. Let me look at the schedule really quickly, because, like, while
you're doing that, Bill, Nick, what do you think Troy Apke might do in the secondary next year? Is he more of a backup safety, or could he fill in that fourth spot?
I definitely don't think I don't think he was moved there to be a backup. If if they just wanted to be a backup, I don't think they would have put him there because he had a lot of potential at receiver, I think, because he is like crazy white boy fast. It's
he's
absurd.
Yeah, didn't he win like the 100-meter, came third in 100-meter in Pennsylvania or something like that?
Yeah, it was second or third or something. He was at that state meet. So he's crazy fast. I feel like I want to see more of I want to see Marcus Allen play more first to see really what style of safety he fits as best.
Mm-hmm.
Or I'd say if Apke would play alongside, and Apke too, because I haven't seen him play safety at all, obviously. So I don't know if he's more of a free safety or strong safety. I don't really know what style they want him to play. I would assume free safety because he's so quick.
Right.
But I mean, I could definitely, if he can beat him out, I could see Apke playing free safety and Marcus Allen playing strong safety. I don't know if that would be the best thing for next year since Apke did just switch this year. So I don't know if he has a good enough grasp on the position quite yet. But yeah, I mean, in the future, I don't see why that would be.
Right. Yeah, I just asked because I know how fast he is.
Yeah.
And, he's essentially, if you put him at free safety, you could essentially use him as a third corner if need be. So he's going to be able to match up with anyone and keep up with them.
I would love to see him play just a little receiver this year. Is the kind of guy that could take the top off the defense, but whatever. But yeah, I'm looking at the schedule for next year. The first 4 games are at Temple, and then
Thursday night.
Yeah, according to a downtown State College close show.
Do it.
Buffalo, Rutgers, San Diego State, and Army.
Go Bulls.
So this defense is not going to come really anything close to tested until it plays Indiana. And Indiana, maybe they'll be a little better next year because they have a little bit more experience. But those first 5 games, we're going to really see, I think, Penn State impose itself. Indiana's a bit in the air. At Ohio State and at Maryland, the Ohio State game is going to be fun if the defense is as good as it can be and the offense takes a step in the right direction. And then at Maryland, depends on what Maryland's offense looks like. Illinois,
which is really at Baltimore.
Yeah. Illinois is bad. They're going to have a new coach, but they're going to be bad, even though I do like West Lunt. Northwestern, I don't even know what the hell to think with them. Then close the season with the 2 Michigan teams.
Ooh, I like that.
Hold on. What's going to be the whiteout game next year?
What are our home games?
Buffalo,
Michigan.
Maybe it could be Rutgers. Buffalo, Rutgers, San Diego State, Army, Indiana, Illinois, and Michigan. But Michigan's on November 21st.
There is precedent for not having a whiteout game or White House game, I guess.
When is the Illinois game?
Well, first off, the Michigan game's the week before Thanksgiving. Illinois is on October 3rd. It's on Halloween, so maybe that.
That would probably be it then. Just if not for that Halloween factor or anything else.
Yeah. What was it? 2011.
2011. It was Alabama at 3 in the afternoon.
Okay, there was one year there where there just wasn't a White House game.
It was before 2010 then, because
it might have been
every year I was there.
Was it? Well, 2009 we had one, so that was at Iowa. The home game against Iowa. That was 38 degrees and rainy, and was fucking awful. I thought there was one year there where we didn't have one, but I could be mistaken.
Hopefully,
I think 2011. Alabama was a student whiteout, but we didn't have a White House game.
Yeah, so it was an afternoon thing.
Yeah, there's no White House game. Yeah.
Yeah, but yeah, hopefully Rutgers, because I feel like if that is a night game with how bad the blood is between the 2 schools for a myriad of reasons, that game is going. It will be chippy on the field, and if it's at night, the environment is going to be terrifying. And I don't like aside from the whole first Big Ten night game thing, I don't know why you would give Rutgers a night game in this series, but you wouldn't give Penn State one the following year. I guess it kind of depends on the other Big Ten games that week.
Plus, though, Rutgers will be starting. Oh crap! What's his? Crap! What's the kid's name? The transfer from LSU, the quarterback.
Rob Bolden?
No, Reddick.
Chase Reddick?
Yeah, I don't know if that's
the other
his
one.
brother.
His brother, yeah. Chase Reddick's at what, BC or North Carolina or one of those ACC schools.
Reddick, who I frequently saw, seeing Rutgers message board comments on Reddick are absolutely hysterical because they all keep saying that. Like somebody saying, "Oh, I'd rather have Reddick than Christian Hackenberg. Like he was an LSU quarterback." And someone said the only reason he transferred is because he didn't fit the scheme. No, if he was good enough to play at LSU, they would have changed their scheme for him. Don't lie to yourself.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that should be fun.
Hey, he was a 4-star guy, and got.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, he got a lot of. Supposedly he's a really good arm, and he got interest from a bunch of really. Rich Rod wanted him, and
he's a good quarterback. Yeah. It's just funny. I mean, even Hackenberg in a down year, I'd still rather have Hackenberg.
Yeah. Almost went to Aquila.
So trying to think about. We've been talking for an hour and 20 minutes at this point, so should probably shut up soon.
Yeah, let's cork this and let's go off the air and just remove obscenities at each other and talk about the Knowles.
Yeah, we didn't do nearly enough talking about the Knowles tonight. So this has been the BSD postgame show. When we see you next week, we will be 1, bowl eligible, and 2, Penn State basketball will be 1-0.
I'll be there.
So also, when you're watching this, tonight or tomorrow, leave your Penn State basketball predictions in the comments too, because that's really what I'm focused on at this point.
Yeah.
Like, football's going to happen. I'm kind of excited for hoops now,
Basketball.
especially. And if you haven't read Eric's preview series yet, go back and do that because he's a god.
Yeah.
Yep.
To get pumped for Penn State basketball, I rewatched the clip of Jordan Dickerson's putback slam against Ohio State last year. The call on that makes me laugh every time. He goes up for it, and right after he slams it down, he goes, "Oh, excuse me, Mr. Dickerson. We'll just get out of your way." Kills me.
Okay, before we go, I just want to say one last thing.
Okay.
After Kansas beat Iowa State today, their fans stormed the field and tore down the goalposts.
Yep.
A Kansas linebacker said that after every win, the new thing is that players are going to fans are going to storm the field and tear down the goalpost. He tweeted, "For everyone that has a problem with our fans tearing down the goalpost, we are going to do it every win, so get used to it. It's okay to be happy." God bless Kansas football. God, that makes me so happy.
Ron Musselman would like to have a talk with him and say he's having way too much fun. Act like you've been there before.
All right, let's get out of here.
All right. Good night, everyone.